these trade missions or cultural exchanges have resulted directly in economic benefit for Utah. Lawmakers have told us that they see the benefits as much more intangible, having to do with tourism, the kind of overall trade environment, and general diplomacy, but none of them could point to specific benefits for Utahns, their constituents, or
It
residents.
just kind of looks like a sanctuary or a sister city relationship, which a lot of cities across the country have, but it could be more. In your report, retired FBI counterintelligence agent Frank Montoya said if the Chinese can succeed in Salt Lake City, they can also make it in New York and elsewhere. Do you believe that there are similar campaigns where these advocates are supporting relations with China? I saw in one particular piece of the reporting that in some Utah schools, there were children who were writing letters to President Xi and calling him grandfather in the letters. What?
So I can't speak to anything happening outside of Utah because that's not the subject of our report. There's been other reporting on this happening in California, in other countries, Canada, Australia, the United Kingdom. This is something that's caught the attention of national security officials from a lot of countries. And it's really a concerted strategy of a foreign country trying to get in on the ground level early in politicians' careers. And
is it indoctrination?
Is it indoctrination? It's influence, I think, is what national security officials have called it. And on that letter exchange, if I could get back to that, we found through public records requests that Utah school teachers were communicating with Chinese embassy officials to coordinate this letter exchange between Xi and fourth graders. These kind of exchanges are then covered widely in state-sponsored media in China, and they paint a picture of China having a lot of diplomatic successes in the United States.
Well, in previous videos, we had made note of the infiltration into America with China, via TikTok, via, we had recently, they started to shut down that China was putting their own police department in sections of the country, including like places like New York City, where they were taking United States Chinese citizens and forcing them back to China to face charges of sedition and treason and many other charges that China wants to put them in jail for. So they basically shut them up from speaking out against the Chinese government. The fear is how much has China infiltrated into the United States? And it's pretty deep these days. The scary part is now, we've discussed about the age verifications, the anti-porn, the censorship on the internet, and we're finding out where some of these bills are coming from. A lot of them is being pushed by Utah and the Mormon religion. But guess what? Utah and the Mormon religion are shaking hands with China. That's right. It looks like China has infiltrated the Mormon religion. But before we start, I just wanted to take this moment to thank all of you for clicking on this video. If you haven't yet, hit that like, share this video with friends, family, enemies, and hopefully today I've earned your subscription. And for those of you already subscribed, please make sure you are still subscribed, as YouTube tends to remove subscriptions from time to time. And remember, if you wish to help support this channel, there are several links in the description below, including a merch shop with new anime themed shirts and mugs now available. Once again, thank you for your support, and make sure you hit that notification bell to make sure you receive all our notifications on QTCast TV and all of our programming across all of our social media platforms. Thank you once again. When you get a chance, grab this article It's we'll leave the link to it in below, and I'll tell you, this is an interesting article. This is from the AP, and it's by Alan Suderman and Sam Meets. I think one of them were, we ran a video with one of them before on Newsmax. And basically, this was out back in March. We're just getting this information now. We're just now covering it because, there was not that much coverage on this. Certain media outlets are now starting to pick this up. Goes to show you how quiet this has been. Not that many people were talking about this, not even on YouTube. But what we're seeing here is that Utah and the Mormon religion have been shaking hands with China for quite some time now. So we're going to read into this. We're going to read a little bit into it, not the whole thing. Like I said, it's a very lengthy investigation and article on there. But we're going to get you to the important parts of it. China's global campaign to win friends and influence policy has blossomed in a surprise place. Utah, a deeply religious and conservative state with few obvious ties to the world's most powerful communist country. An investigation by the Associated Press has found that China and its U.S.-based advocates have spent years building relationships with the state officials and lawmakers. Those efforts have paid dividends at home and abroad, the AP found. Lawmakers delayed legislation Beijing didn't like, nixed resolutions that conveyed displeasure with its actions, and expressed support in ways that enhanced the Chinese government image. Now, understand, this is coming from both sides of the aisle in certain group sections. And like I said, this from a Utah point of view, in Utah, the Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is very strong. And the thing is, over there, the separation of church and state doesn't really happen there. It's more that the church is controlling the state itself when it comes to laws because of those that they voted into office. Its works in Utah is emblematic of a broader effort by Beijing to secure allies at the local level as its relations with the U.S. and Western allies have turned acrimonious. U.S. officials say local leaders are at risk of being manipulated by China and have deemed the influence campaign a threat to national security. Beijing's success in Utah shows how persuasive and persistent China has been trying to influence America, says Frank Moyara Jr., a retired FBI counterintelligence agent who lives in Utah. Utah is an important foothold, he says. If the Chinese can succeed in Salt Lake City, they can also make it in New York and elsewhere. Security experts say that China's campaign is widespread and tailored to local communities. In Utah, the AP found that Beijing and pro-China advocates appealed to the lawmakers' affiliations with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, better known as the Mormon Church, which is the state's dominant religion and one that has long dreamed of expanding in China. Beijing's campaign in Utah has raised concerns among state and federal lawmakers and drawn the attention of the Justice Department. A state legislature told the AP he was interviewed by the FBI after introducing a resolution in 2020 expressing solidarity with China early in the coronavirus pandemic. A Utah professor who has advocated for closer ties between Washington and Beijing told the AP he's been questioned by the FBI twice. The FBI declined to comment. I'm going to jump a little bit across here to an important part that you need to know about this. And like I said, you can go back and read the rest of this. The AP founded groups up to 25 lawmakers routinely took trips to China every other year since 2007. Lawmakers have particularly used campaign donors to pay for the trade missions and cultural exchanges while relying on China and host organizations to pay for other expenses. On the trips, they forged relationships with government officials and were quoted in Chinese state-owned media in ways that support Beijing agenda. Utah is not like Washington, D.C. The then Utah House Speaker Greg Hughes, a vocal supporter of former President Donald Trump, told the Chinese state media outlet in 2018 as the former president ratcheted up pressure on Beijing over trade. Utah is a friend of China, an old friend with a long history. In an interview last month with the AP, Hughes says the trips to China made him bullish about the country and prospects of improving trade. However, he says now he believes that the visits were pretexts for China officials to influence him and other lawmakers. It's a trip not worth taking, Hughes says. Utah doesn't require public officials to report in detail their foreign, travel, or personal finances, so it's difficult to determine lawmakers' finances ties with China. Some of Utah's most pro-China legislators, however, have China-related personal business connections. Well, like I said, you can read on. I left the link below on this. But think about this for a minute. This has been going on for quite some time now. And you hear all the bills that are coming across that are pro-China, your censorship bills, a lot of the tariffs and stuff like that that are being removed. Some of the bills that force China to basically capitulate with the rest of the world and saying like, hey, listen, you can't keep doing the things that they do. You got to remember, China is a situation where they are to the point, they're at the point where the Nazis are, with the concentration camps, what they're doing to the Uyghur Muslims over there. And for them to try to push into this country, to try to take us down, they're trying to change our country. That, in a way, honestly, that is, in a way, an act of war in one perspective. Now, should we go to war with this? As a last resort, possibly. But I would take to the moment and start to change laws, especially the ones that, like this, where, we said that lawmakers in Utah don't have to say where their money coming from or any of the, with their where they're going to, what they've gotten, that's things that should be changed. It should be, because if you're going across to another country and they're paying you money just so basically they can get a seat at the table, in the legislature or directly in Congress in DC, so they can vote on stuff that basically they have no right to vote for. This is our own country. And you're already seen just recently in the last week, now they're condemning Taiwan, that the United States is no longer backing Taiwan in their situation. That basically China wants Taiwan back in their fold, but Taiwan does not want this. They want to be their own country. You don't blame them. Look what happened to Hong Kong. Look, basic example, look what happened to Hong Kong. Hong Kong was under British rule. And, many people criticize, the British, they controlled this. They were colonizers and stuff like that. Do you know it was easier to live under the British flag in Hong Kong than it is now today with Chinese rule? They were told by the British were relinquish their seat in Hong Kong as long as China respected the freedoms of the people in Hong Kong. Have they done that? No. Have they made it much harder to live in Hong Kong? Yes. That was the biggest mistake the British has ever made, is to allow Hong Kong to return back to China. What they should have been, they should have gotten their own independence and become their own country. That's what should have happened. But this is the things that happen out of Beijing. These are the things that are going on. And it's straining our government. It is straining our people. This is what has happened. They're trying to basically take this country down from within. We got to step back, start to fight back against this. And this is the things that I keep telling you. The small fights that we have discussed here, the porn censorship, anime censorship, all these bills, age verification. Guess what? Some of it's with the help from China. The other half of it, the drug trade. You got China funding crops, illegal crops here, marijuana crops, and they're funneling it throughout the country and across on the other side of the world. Put that, to that situation. And then, of course, China has deals with the Mexican cartels. With all the fentanyl trade and everything that's coming across the border, obviously, this is what's going on. So tell me in the comments below your thoughts about this. Do you believe this? Do you not? It's to the situation that this is what is happening, and we have to take a stand for this. So remember to share this video, hit the like, hit the notification bell, and hopefully today's the day I earn your subscription. So until the next video, thank you for tuning in, and bye-bye now.